Hello and welcome to another installment of What's the Juice podcast. On today's episode, I am bringing in someone who's very close to me in my life and has been very important to me in my journey, not just my human, spiritual, what the heck am I doing here and how do I get better at this life journey, but she's been really important in my journey with losing my mom and watching her go through Alzheimer's these last few years. She's been extremely instrumental in my journey with music and returning to this art form that was so important to me as a child and is so important for me to express before this life is over. And she's just an overall mentor, spiritual teacher, and sort of a coach of mine who I've been working with pretty consistently the last 3 years, and her name is Manuela Welton. And I know a lot of you who listen to this podcast here are maybe new because of a recent episode of ours with Dr. Molly that went viral on Spotify. So I know we have a new Spotify crew here. So I just wanted to say hi to you guys. And then I know I also have so many incredible OGs who've been with me for many, many, many years and have watched such a beautiful journey with me and my family, and how relationships have changed and been healed over the years, and how there's been grief and just so much of what I know all of you are maybe dealing with as well in your lives. And if you were not aware of my mom's journey with Alzheimer's the last few years, she has battled that terrible disease for 10, maybe almost 12 years now, with a pretty early diagnosis in her life. And the last 5 years, especially after COVID, which I have a whole episode about my parents' COVID journey and the amazing kind of like feats we had to go through when they were in the hospital. But ever since COVID, my mom's condition really, really accelerated. And a few weeks ago, we did lose her. And so this episode with Manuela, someone who helped to walk me through my grief journey, because she also lost both of her parents actually at a pretty young age. She was just so important to me throughout all of this. And I just wanted to share her with you guys, because I think that the compassion and the knowledge that she's been able to pull from that experience, and the ways in which she's been able to transform that pain of losing her parents so young and losing her mother into her spiritual gifts, and the way that she's been able to help people, is what I want with my life, and I think what so many of you guys want too. So she's just such a beacon of light and hope for a lot of us, and we're going to talk so much about how to recognize and expand your own spiritual gifts and unique talents. We're going to talk about grief and loss and transforming pain, and just have a lovely human conversation, kind of one of those conversations that What's the Juice podcast is all about. So thank you guys for listening. As always, thank you to everyone who has sent me a message of love and care and condolences with my mom. And I know that if she could hear these episodes, she would love them. So thanks for listening with me and with her in spirit. Let's talk real life, right? I think the best way to move through life is to always be the student and to always be curious. Life will show you either way. It's just how you choose to listen. You can always count on you. You will always have your own back. This is not the last thing you'll create. Play is the process. Sometimes it has to be dramatic. That's the funny part. When your back's up against the wall, you will prevail. You're allowed to grow and change. You are allowed to birth something new. I hope you make your art. Manuela Welton, welcome to What's the Juice podcast.
Oh, Livia, it's so nice to be here with you.
I like how you now exclusively call me Livia to hammer in the identity.
Olivia, it's a pleasure, and yeah, it's so nice to be here with you as well.
We got to meet for the first time in person this week. I've been working with you for 2 years now. I feel like I've worked with so many people along my journey that have sort of been like in the background, or just kind of like, I don't always share these very sacred people that I work with so heavily behind the scenes. So to be able to bring you on the pod and just talk to you about your work is such a blessing. So I'd love to start with you introducing yourself and telling us a bit about what it is that you do.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing me on. And I know I too have my people that I work with behind the scenes. I think it's also part of like that sacredness of just honoring the space and the energy of what you're working with. So thank you for bringing me on and sharing me with your audience.
Of course.
I am what am I? I change it every time depending on who I'm talking with, because it's different forms of how I work with. But I've been an intuitive healer and healing facilitator for almost 20 years, like professionally. But I always say I started at a very young age. I was, I think part of my philosophy is we're all very gifted human beings. We all have these abilities where we see spirits, hear spirits, feel spirits, and not just spirits, but, extrasensory feelings. And so since a very young age, I had these abilities. And when I was a bit older, I developed them, and I was brought to different mentors and teachers to develop them even further. And now I work with individuals and companies, even governments, helping strategize and help them align intuitively into paths in themselves and get to know themselves better through many, many years of different modalities that I have studied and practiced.
Now, what is it exactly that an intuitive healer does when you are working one-on-one with someone? Because I think that it's such a mystified thing that we don't always understand. And sometimes when I tell people, I was just talking to my healer earlier and she was saying X, Y, and Z, they're like, is this a therapist? Is this a life coach? So it's a little bit mysterious.
It's a little bit of everything. I think part of what I do that is different, we're all very different in our forms. And what I do that's very different is that I don't have a specific methodology of working with someone. It's not like I bring the same thing to everybody at the table. And so I really look at the human holistically. So I look at you and what you're going through. And I haven't shared this before, but part of what I realized a couple of years ago is that I have the gift of becoming the person. So it's almost like I see you and then I feel you at 100. I become you. I feel everything in my body that you are. And based on that, I can kind of see what's needed or hear what's needed. What people would call medical medium. I don't ever go by that because I don't have specific medical training, but I can feel what your body is going through. And then based on that, I hear, okay, this is where we got to go. Or, psychics, and I also say this in my word, with psychics, I again, everybody's different. There's people that have that ability, but for me, how I work with psychic energy is not to tell you what the future holds. For me, it's more about where you are in the present, and then I help you create what it is that you want, because I do believe that human beings are we can create anything we want. So if a psychic tells you, oh, you're going to get on a plane in 2 days, you will get on a plane in 2 days because you're creating it, right? So it just depends. Every person I work with is different, and we're all very different. So we're all needing different things.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes I'm frustrated because I'm like, I want to know the future, Manuel. What's going to happen? Or tell me more about my music. And you're like, I can't. It's not going to happen.
I'm more like, well, what do you want?
Yes, it's more like, what do you want? What are you creating? And what is present in this moment that you need to attend to so that you can align yourself to be the person who is a match for your highest path, no matter what that is.
Exactly.
It's really just kind of seeing what's here and now, what needs to be moved and cleared. And so much of it is emotional, right? So much of it is these emotional things that we carry, or blockages, or things that we don't want to face, that when witnessed and mirrored by someone who's actively feeling it in their body and is in it with us, sometimes it's not easier to clear, but it's possible to clear. Sometimes it's not possible for many of us to do it on our own in a silo.
Exactly. Yeah. I also feel like when you go to somebody, it's really important to just know that person is doing also their own work, because a lot of people that come to me, I have heard, horror stories of what has happened with people that they've worked with. And I think that for me, my commitment when I work with somebody is I'm constantly doing my own work. I'm looking at my things, I'm clearing my things. I have my own energy work done to release anything that I'm holding so that I can show up to those that I work with from a very clear, clean, energetic space, and that I'm not projecting anything on you. Mm-hmm. So I always will always want the best for who I'm working with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you have been doing this from a very young age. I want to know, how young were you when you first recognized that you had gifts?
Probably around 4 years old. I always share the story of me. Well, actually, I have two stories. I always share the story almost everybody knows, when I was having tea with my grandparents and all these beings that we were just had a blast. I would have at that young age, I would have, help. My parents were working all the time. So I had a nanny, and we would, make a tea party. And then I would have all these beings come, who for me were real. And, I would share with my mom different things that I would hear. And my mom would be like, wow, how do you know this? Right. And so I didn't know that wasn't normal. I thought everybody had that. I also had a twin, an actual twin, but I had an imaginary friend that looked just like me. And so I would ask my parents to get, I would get a teddy bear, and I would ask them, can we get two? And I would get ice cream. And I was like, I have an imaginary friend. Can we get two? So at that, I didn't realize that I had that gift, but to me that was normal. So I would always ask my friends, like, do you have imaginary friends? Like, who are they? And I think that at that moment I didn't know that that was a gift, but later on I realized. And it wasn't until I really lost my parents that I started understanding that the veil was so thin for me. Again, thinking that everybody had this ability. And, people would say I'm so sorry. And I would say what are you talking about? They're still here, so life would have it. Earlier on, going to therapy, I would get a lot of people. I also share when I was born, the doctor said to my parents, this child is special. And that my parents would always say that back to me. But again, everybody is special, right? But the doctor that delivered me, they said this baby has some ability, take good care of her.
How did the doctor know?
I think he had certain abilities to see things too. And I am so grateful. My entire life I was shown and guided to teachers and guides and beings that would see that in me. It wasn't like I was ever looking for it. I share that I wanted to act when I was little. I wanted to be an actress. And life would have it that acting was not a possibility. But then that makes sense later on in my life when I become a shapeshifter, right? I wanted to act because I can actually literally become the person. And then that guides me to different teachers that help me kind of fine tune that ability.
Yeah. At what age did you lose your parents, and how did that inform your path of being able to use your gifts with others?
Yeah, I call that my initiation because I lost my mom when I was 15, which is usually when you become a woman in Latin America, is there's a huge quinceañera. And so that kind of was whoa, okay, wake up, you're now a woman. And then I lost my dad when I was 18. And so that was again, here in the States, you become an adult. So it's okay, go. You're time to leave the house. It was a huge rites of passage. When my mom died, I think that was the first time that I was actually really, again, guided to a music therapist that on the side was first generation Reiki teacher. Back when I was 15, nobody was talking about this, not the way that we're talking about it now. In fact, she was saying, don't share this with anybody. She was coming from the lineage of the time when, she had to burn her books because it was taboo. And so, she was one of the first people in Mexico that looked at me and was like, you have a gift and you have to develop it. Otherwise, you're going to get very ill. And so we started, not only exploring my healing ability through my hands and intuition, but also healing that death of my mom and reconnecting me to faith, prayer, and just really opening these doors. And from that experience, I would go to coffee shops and then I would be sitting next to somebody that would open the next door. And then I would, I was constantly attracting these beautiful guides that would just support that evolution. And, my parents dying also, I always have this joke, but I adopt families wherever I go. So it's my parents have always been so present and have kind of just connected me to these beautiful families that I have adopted, but also have adopted me in some form. And I just feel not only do I feel them so present, but I also feel just guided always. I have a fine attuned ear to listen to where I need to be when I need to be, and just listening. Yeah.
When you talk about how this first teacher reconnected you to your faith, Did you lose touch with your faith after losing your mom?
A bit. Yeah. At that time, I thought my dog was dying. So I had premonitions of both my parents dying before they died. With my mom, I had premonitions that my dog was dying, but it wasn't my dog. It was my mom. But I remember like 2 weeks before she died, she was having premonitions of her death. Nobody believed her. She was incredibly psychic. Like she was really tapped in. She was just afraid of it. That whole lineage of my mom is very, very, very sensitive. And so she was saying like 3 months before her death, like, you know, I feel like I'm going to die. Like I smell something, like something's happening. And 2 weeks before she dies, I feel like my dog's going to die. And I just start crying like crazy and almost like nonstop. And yeah, I think when my mom dies, I have this story that I go down to Mexico to be with my aunt for the summer. Totally heartbroken, 15, rebellious, don't want anything, just want to stay in bed all day. Yeah. And so my aunt sends me to Puerto Vallarta to be with her friend. And her friend takes us to this restaurant. And in this restaurant is this man. To this day, I don't even know his name. And he looks at me. He's like, let me read your hands. And I'm like, at this point, I don't believe in any of this, right? So I had that gift growing up, but then closed off for a couple of years. And then this is the moment that opens everything. This man looks at me in the eyes and is like, let me read your hands. I'm like, I'm 15. I'm like, okay. The woman that I'm with says like, no, like, no, she's too young. And so I go for it. And this guy starts like talking, you know, you're very materialistic. Your favorite color's pink. And I'm like, okay, yes, what 15-year-old doesn't, blah, 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 blah. We don't know this person, right? And suddenly he just starts looking at my hands and starts like, and then my ears just clog. Like, and I start hearing like beep. And suddenly my heart starts beating faster. Everything just like stops, like feels like a time out of time. And then I start kind of sweating. And suddenly I start crying. And this guy looks at me and he's like, somebody very close to you just died. And I'm like, yes. He didn't know anything. And he's like, she wants me to tell you and let you know that, you know, she's okay and that she loves you so much. And so I start just like, I don't even remember to this point. I'm just bawling and just says, you know, you're very gifted and a whole other slew of things. And so this is like the first moment that I have to connect back with my mom. And then, you know, says a bunch of other things, closes my hands. He says, I've got to go. This was very intense for me. And he's like, and he just disappears. Doesn't ask for money. He says like, this was a gift from God, and disappears. And I'm here like 15, bawling my eyes off. Like, and then I go and draw a heart somewhere in this fridge where we go grocery shopping, and I draw a heart in a fridge. Later on in the day, my dad calls me and says, honey, did you draw a heart in the fridge and leave it? Because he was in New Mexico and I was in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I don't remember seeing this before, but it suddenly just appeared on the fridge. And he sends me a photo, and it's the same heart that I had drawn in the fridge in Mexico, in my dad's fridge in New Mexico. So it's somehow connected. That moment is like the moment that started changing everything. And I realized, oh, wow, my mom is here. She's so present. She had just died 2 months before. And this is real. Everything is energy. And from there, like so many miracles and things started happening. So yes, I had disconnected to my faith of believing in this. But even
and believing in this, do you mean like believing in more than what we can see? Or yes. Believing that it's not just the despair of loss, but like you said, that loss or everything becomes energy and is still existing around us in another form, so that there's hope in that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Believing in everything is, the veil is thin. There's parallel realities. There is ancestors. There's spirits. Everything is one. Like after that moment, everything got shown to me in a way that, like, I have stories for days.
I'm like, what do you mean everything got shown to you? Because was that the faith that you grew up with?
No. My parents, as I said, both sides of parents were very in tune. My dad was more of a mystic. I used to say my dad didn't believe in any of this. He was not spiritual, blah, blah. And then suddenly somebody opened my eyes to like, yeah, maybe he wasn't showing it, but your dad was very sensitive. He was really, really sensitive. So it's like, but my dad was terrified of this world. So, and my mom was terrified in her way because she was so powerful. Like, I remember one day, like there was a painting that fell and she looks at her watch and the watch stops and she's like, Aunt Lucy just died. I'm like, we were all like, what? 3 hours later, we got a call. Aunt Lucy had died. And so she was that tapped in, but kind of terrified of that potential of like feeling everything.
I had that experience when a friend died. Something came over me and I just started panicking and I had to like leave the room and go upstairs and I was pacing back and forth and I never paced before. And it was like, it's so interesting how that's unexplainable, but such a universal experience. I was just reading a TikTok thread the other day where someone was like, what is it in your culture where you know someone has died or is going to die or that someone's pregnant? And you see like threads and threads of people saying, oh, in my culture, people have dreams of fish and that's when someone's pregnant or this happens. And it's, we know that these things are so common. We hear them as old wives' tales, but we don't always solidify it as a part of our belief system that this is real and there's so much more. And there's a freedom that comes with believing in that possibility.
Absolutely. I actually just a couple months ago started, like really feeling my own fear of death and how much that has impeded me from that freedom. I thought I wasn't afraid of death. With all the death that I've had in my life, the death for me has been one of the strongest initiations into this path. It's just like the realization that, one, nothing's permanent, and two, it's all here.
Yeah.
And so, but I realized like, oh wow, I'm still holding that energy in my body. Like I thought I was like adventurous and doing everything I needed to do. If if I tell you my life story, I've had many lives in one. Then I realized like, oh wow, I'm going very, very, very fast because I'm actually afraid that I don't have enough time. And not only am I afraid that I don't have enough time, but I'm afraid that one day, like, I'm not going to be able to finish or do, or so it's coming from a fear of, I'm going to die soon. And then I realized like, oh wow, that is a human experience. That's actually either we are frozen and we don't do anything because we feel like we're going to die, or we don't. Yeah. There's a massive fear of death. And I think we have to start celebrating life, and celebrating life is actually celebrating death, and not be afraid, like really looking at it in the face. How do we look at death as another rites of passage? I think in cultures, as you say, like we used to have these omens or the fish or exactly these beautiful ways of looking not only just at birth but at death and the cycle of life fully. As I was doing that at work, and I had moments of like I was being born, dying, and like every minute, like it was like a huge, deep experience of feeling me dying and being born, dying and being born.
When was this?
That was not long ago. I realized like there was a massive part of me dying that I needed to actually like help birth. And it was, again, that part that was feeling like I wasn't going to have enough time. And then when I helped that part of me die, like actually I was dueling that part of myself. As I'm telling you, like, I'm doing my own work as I work with people, but I was really supporting that death of that part of myself.
How?
Well, deep work, different tools. First, awareness, acknowledging that this is something that is in me. And then so as I acknowledge, I get different tools that are support. It's like breath work is really, really a support. But it takes about, for me, 3 months to go through an experience like that for myself, or more, 3 to 5 months. Different modalities that are presented that really help and support. And people that I work with as well. So I go and do, emotional clearing, breath work, different ways to look at it. And I have a beautiful team, not only of friends, but also guides that I always say I go through things a little bit earlier than most because people come to me and I have already gone through it. Mm-hmm. So I go through it so I can support other people through it. So yeah,
I really like what you just said about interfacing with death as a venerable part of life, as this like honorable, true thing that is necessary for life, for more to come, instead of it being this thing that we fear or shove away or don't talk about. And I often think about like all the ways in which our culture, like Western culture, denies or doesn't want to look at death. And I think that it's not even just exclusive to human death. I think, we've become so disconnected from even the killing of animals for food, which I believe in. Of course, I eat meat. I think this is part of the cycle of life. But I think a lot of people, because we're so disconnected from that, we don't respect it. We don't respect the chaos of nature, and that death happens and that it then feeds and then it creates more. And we're just so far removed from so much, which it's no wonder that we don't like to talk about it or it's so taboo. What are some ways in which we can start to kind of interface with death a little bit more so that we actually live?
Great question. I think part also, like, it's not just death. I think we're afraid to feel as a society, and different societies, different planets, different countries do it differently. But I think, let's talk about the US. I think it's, a lot of my work and mentorship has been US lives from here up, right? So it's very mental. It's, again, I've had true mentors that have helped me understand how mental the society is. So it's always my work here, especially with the US, is very different than if I were to work with somebody in Latin America. Still different, but it's constantly like, how do we do this? How?
Yes.
So it's like the mind, right? So how do we actually get into the body and into the heart? And getting into the body and into the heart, how can we actually feel all our fear and anger and emotion? And therefore, what is the fear of death? Actually, what is that fear of life ending? If we believed in, back in the day, like it's just a cycle, there are ancient ways that believe that life is actually just the beginning of life, right? Like that living in this body is actually just the beginning of our soul's evolution, right? So it's this is actually the death of the soul going into like full freedom and awareness and expansion. So how do we look at, I think it individually is a different, for each person, it's a different fear. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really actually about allowing and enabling the human being to feel all the emotion and give space to all the emotion. How can we support people in feeling all the way through? And when we feel all the way through, we actually realize that there's nothing after the feeling. We're actually just afraid to feel the grief all the way through and realize there's nothing on the other side. Like it's actually full freedom of that feeling. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are afraid to get debilitated by the grief, which is a valid experience. I was one of those people. But how do we turn that soil and we churn it and create from that soil a beautiful tree or a beautiful plant? It's a place from which creativity grows. It's a place from which empathy grows, where compassion grows. I think when people experience death, it's one of the biggest ways where people can actually expand and open their heart to somebody else's experience, because it's cracked open. The heart is cracked open to empathize towards somebody else's experience and create real, deep, intimate connection, right? But it's about not being afraid to feel all the way through.
You mean when someone experiences a death very close to them and is able to just really surrender to the process of digesting everything that comes with that, that's what cracks them open.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
And death is not also just like physical death, as I shared. Like it's an energetic death. It's all sorts of deaths. We're so afraid of change, and we're so afraid of what it could look like if we let go of something. You know, what does it look like when we let go of something fully? We were talking about it this morning, how that can open up space for something else.
Why is it you think we're so afraid of change? Is it the same thing about wanting to avoid the grief? Or is it not trusting ourselves that we'll create something new in the space of it?
Different layers. We're afraid of freedom. We're afraid of, I mean, and as I said, this is very general. There's many, many ways of talking about this. But what I attune to when you ask that right now is like, we're afraid of our capacity of full freedom.
You're just feeling me. Because on your show, that's the last thing I said, is that I'm afraid of freedom because it feels shameful.
So we're continuing the conversation.
But I'm sure that a lot of the folks listening, because I feel like the women who follow me, similar to the clients who follow you, like you become them or you're always going through the same thing as them.
Oh yeah.
I feel the same way about the folks who've been with me for so many years, and we always tend to have very similar childhood experiences or attitudes about life or fears or things that we're uncovering. So I'm sure it's not that rare to be terrified of freedom, the one thing that we really want.
I'm going to say something a little bit like it might sting. And imagine if you let go of the baggage that you're carrying, like what is available for you. Some people are actually attached to
as
pain.
Soon as you said that, I was like, I'm so attached to my shame.
Yeah, to shame, to pain. It's like, let me carry this stuff. Like, let me just like put on my backpack because I'm used to it. And I don't know what it would be like to actually take it off. And the freedom that would come from expansion and light and color and beauty and play. But because also, you know, we talk about ancestral energy, it's like we don't know what we don't know. And we often carry what's not even ours. And then we don't even know we're carrying it, and we get used to it, and it's almost like then we start attracting it all over and all around us. All our friends have it
as a way to break it, because it has to be mirrored first and seen.
We then start seeing it, exactly, and it's like, well, why do you have it? And then we start pointing it out on somebody else, but then we realize, oh wait, we have it too. That
makes sense. I mean, as like a smaller example, just to kind of ground it for the listeners, when I was very much engaging in codependent dynamics that I picked up from my family and my lineage, and that was just the only way I knew how to be in relationship, I was attracting codependent friends that were willing to be codependent with me, right? So I had to see that dynamic in them and initially be like, they're the problem, to be like, I'm the problem too, babe. Like, it's you need that mirror of those experiences and those people that do match exactly what you're carrying, so that you can finally take it off. And sometimes when you let go of them, that's what allows you to let go of it in yourself. But there is a big clearing and a big letting go and a big change there, and you do lose a lot, because often we do build a world around us based on our wounding initially.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yes, it is. And it's almost like we also have to acknowledge we're all mirrors of each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I move from a place of non-judgment most of the time in my friend group, and, well, everywhere. Actually, I try to make space for all stories, because it's like there's a part of me that probably resonates to everything that I'm attracting. So what part of myself do I have to look at if I'm friends with that? This is something I've been really playing with lately, which is when something triggers me, I immediately look at, where is that in me? Because it's like, oh, there's something activating in me that I'm seeing that person. And then I immediately, like right away, I catch it. Yeah. And instead of like pointing the finger at the person, then I look at myself, and then I start moving it in myself. I'm like, oh, that was back when I was 5. Yes, my dad. Okay, got it. Released. Yeah. And then I make space for that person's story, because I see where it's also in me.
I had tried that once. I would just constantly say the mantra, I'm like that too. Whenever someone like someone caught me off in traffic, and I'd be like, oh, and I'm like that too. I do that too, or whatever. Like, I see something in someone and I have a snap judgment. It's like, I'm like that too, because if you do have the energy rushing up in your body to have that judgment and that type of reaction, it means that you're often mirroring it. But that's something I still really struggle with. And I wonder what advice you have for people who are kind of being honest with themselves right now and noticing that they're really judgmental. Because I notice it a lot. And it comes from me judging myself the most, like that self-policing we talked about. But I can be so judgmental.
Yeah, and that judgment, that's something beautiful. I was working with death and judgment this year. That was like a lot of my year. And I think that collectively we're really working with that currently. And, I think judgment is massive, because I think with each of these words that we're talking about, by the way, there's layers. I think there's not just one universal way of judgment. And I also believe, this is another thing that I came to awareness this year, is like, I also believe that we all have very different definitions of judgment. So we're talking about judgment right now. My definition is totally different because of my life experience. Your definition is totally different from my life experience. So there's no actual truth because you're going to have an experience of judgment that I don't have. So it's it's an interesting point to collectively, culturally, politically, all sorts of polarity created from our own experiences of the words. But judgment has very, very different layers, one of them being our parents, right? So we grow up in a culture and society where like, it's everywhere. I can tell you in my upbringing, whoa, like everything we saw was like, ooh, this person's wearing this, and ooh, this, that, ooh, da, da, da. That I had to de-layer and clear like years of conditioning of looking at somebody else. And then I realized, like, oh, am I judging this person because I actually want to be wearing this? Like, but it was my dad's voice saying like, ooh, right? So there's the familial judgment. There's the society judgment, right? If you don't have this, or if you're not this or that, the constant programming of judgment. Mm. And so I think that being really compassionate for yourself and just, yeah, what does that judgment mean for you? Is it a protection mechanism? Like, is judgment actually perhaps discernment? Like, is it maybe you're discerning an energy not to get close to you because it's a way for you to protect yourself, right? So it's looking at, we've done a lot of this work of inner child and looking at where that inner child is actually really just needing protection and love and care, right? How do we actually tend for those places that we're needing to protect and care for?
So when someone's catching themselves have a snap judgment, like, for example, I think the familial judgment, I'm sure so many people will relate to, because it's like no matter what culture you're from, like, you know, I'm Italian, and that's what everyone, it's a constant, oh, did you see she gained some weight? Did you see
the weight?
Did you, oh my God. And it's like, even to the point where the family conversation at the table is like, did you hear on the news that tree fell on that guy in the pool? So tragic. I'm like, oh my God. It's a constant thing. And I guess I mean, I can see how for my family and for myself, like when I'm judging, especially people, it's because I'm trying to stay safe in my environment, and I'm trying to protect myself. My ego is trying to protect myself. It's like a whole thing. But when someone like develops a self-awareness to notice that judgment's coming up and hear the family voice and say, that's not fair, I just judged this girl's outfit. What is the immediate first step? Is it immediately compassion for self of like, I understand? What do you say to yourself?
Right away. So let's look at the outfit, the woman's outfit. I look at the outfit. I'm like, ooh. I close my eyes, take a deep breath. You know, by the way, judgment is a natural human experience. We all have it. So don't judge yourself for having judgment. And we all do it. We all do it. So just take a step. I've been really working with slowing down, like, right? Because I'm like you. Fast. So slow it down, take a deep breath, and just like, okay, where is that coming from? Like, where am I seeing that outfit? I immediately go into like, I ask myself 3 questions. Is it something I'm wanting to wear? Is it something that that comes from, I go to my dad because he was my judgment voice. He's my judgment voice. He's that part of me that is protecting me, right? So he's protecting me. It came from protection for that little girl not to wear anything that would be too showy. So I go for compassion towards him. Or is it actually just something I'm thinking, you know, and it's okay. It's like, just like, you have 3 questions for yourself. Make them up as you go, whatever they are for you. Like, is it my mom? Is it my dad? Is it something that I actually really want? Because judgment could be jealousy masked a little bit.
Or is it something that I'm insecure about?
Or is it something I'm insecure about, right? This person's just mirroring you.
Yeah.
This person's a creation of your psyche to show you something. Look at it, and then what is it teaching you?
Yeah.
And I laugh at the Italian because, I mean, in Colombia, I'm from Colombia, and I go to Colombia. The first thing, oh, you've lost weight. Oh, you've gained weight. It's like
always
the first thing. I'm like, so collectively in Colombia, and Latin America, I think, but Colombia, that is the first thing people look at.
Yeah.
And so societally, we have been conditioned that is the most important thing to take care of, is your weight.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that for a moment? Like,
yeah,
that's a
please.
huge thing. Like, culturally, we
get so rewarded and so reinforced.
Yeah.
On a public scale, on an Instagram scale, on a this, that. It's really wild.
Yeah. So I think it's like really like hugging your baby, hugging yourself and being like, you're doing it. Love yourself, compassion, because we get thrown left and right things, media, social media, all sorts of things. So it's really about building a relationship with yourself. And when you build a relationship with yourself, these things lessen and lessen and lessen. Now I go to Colombia and I laugh the first time, all my family members, oh, you've lost weight. Oh, you gained weight. I'm like, before it used to be triggering, because it's like, growing up a bit with eating disorder and not eating disorder. Yeah. Disordered eating. Mm-hmm. That would trigger me tremendously. Like, oh, now I'm like, because I've gained that acceptance of myself, that nothing outside of me will really kind of move that.
Yeah, I want to go back to that in a second, the self relationship and nothing outside of me. But there is something to say about the antidote is just having to be so sure in yourself of like, I'm okay no matter what. I think also our family members and the earlier generations before us, they maybe grew up in times that they did have to be so much more protective of things. So, and I think of a family member that I have who's always oh, you look so thin today. Wow. It's like the first thing is the weight. The second thing is, how's the business doing? Did you grow this year? Did you save enough for taxes? And now with the music, it's how many listeners do you have? Are enough people listening? And I'm like, and I've now said to them, I started recently saying, that's not a metric by which I measure my success and happiness.
Good boundary.
And it's just the thing that I say back, but it's like I'm speaking Greek to them. It's not landing. They're kind of like, what's that sentence? But I have to mean that for that to work. Mm-hmm. I have to mean that's not a metric by which I measure my success and happiness. Because if I am measuring myself, if I'm clocking myself, judging myself on, how many people listen to this song for it to be successful versus did I just love making that song and I'm just really happy, then that wouldn't be true, and what they said would penetrate and hurt me so much more. So I think it's so wise what you're saying of like coming back to that relationship with the self, and that's something I talk about on the show a lot, and I've talked about in my journey is the only way that I made it out in this life and went from someone who, when I was younger and in my early 20s, I really hated myself. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I did not like myself. And I had to, bit by bit, build an actual friendship and relationship with myself. And I've done so much that sometimes it's hard for me to even piece together how I did that. Yeah. So I want to ask you, as like an expert who works with people to do this every day, like what does that process look like, especially if you're starting from ground zero of like, I don't like myself.
Well, yes. The first thing that comes to mind is age. Like it really is be gentle with yourself. If I could have told my younger self anything at like 20, 19, 18, it's like, it's all going to get better. It's like, it's a maturity and growth, and the more that you grow into your body, the more you will like just something happens. Like I think genetically something starts like, we start growing older, and then there's no control of that. But, often maybe sometimes age is not it also. I do work a lot with self-love. I think it is what comes to me with self-love is being witnessed and seen at a deeper level, like
by yourself, by yourself.
But
how?
Also, but work how? Yeah,
Me,
how?
in the U.S., I'm right here.
By coming
how?
into the heart. No,
yes.
Truly embodiment, and that's been my process. I've had to embody and come into my body with different tools, movement, song, creativity. I've had to do that journey in order to support other people in doing that journey as well.
Is it because we only hate ourselves in our minds? We don't hate ourselves in our heart? I'm trying to intellectually figure this one out.
Yeah, you are. I'm trying to go there with you, but I'm like, wait, I'm not hearing that one. Let's see. Wait, it's like I couldn't even hear it. It's because we only hate ourselves in our minds and not in our hearts.
Well, because it's like that's such a it's such a difficult thing to grapple with. It's so out of sync with what existing is. Like animals don't hate themselves. Animals don't, a baby doesn't hate themselves. So is it that this is, for me, it was very much conditioning from my mom, and I watched my mom really despise herself, but she didn't get that attunement from her mom. I didn't really I got so much from her, but there was a certain like emotional consistency and attachment and attunement that wasn't fully complete there, and so I didn't have that like unconditional love of I'm worthy there.
Yeah.
So I think I just was like, I'm worth less, and I just felt it was maybe more feeling worthless than it was really hating myself. But that's not really a feeling. That's like a thought, because that's not real.
Right. It is a thought. And two things come to me. Comparison is huge with this. Like we're constantly comparing ourselves. Oh, but this person has this and this person looks like this. And then we don't actually realize, like what I do in my work is deeply see the person for who they are. Right. So it's ask your closest friends, one or two friends, tell me what you see in me. Like tell me what is it that I have that you see in me that maybe other people don't. And you start actually taking that thread and really developing it. And it's like, for you, we're all light, actually. At the core of our body, we are all energy and we're all light. And really, and what has happened is we've lived, and that creates experiences and wounding and pain and hurt. And then it starts kind of clogging our ability to see the world in a different way. It's like it starts becoming
it clouds the lens.
Clouds a little bit. So all it is just releasing the cloud, feeling it all the way through. You are seen, you belong, you are loved. Right? How do we get into a place of I am seen, I belong, I am loved? Right? I have chills. It's like that's all it is. And often our dislike for ourselves comes from a place of growing up in a space, as you said, your mom, right? How much of that comes into your mom's womb, and how much of that is in your entire soma, tissue, body, all of it. Like how much of that is not even yours, and it's not even your mom's, it's not even your grandmother's. Like it just gets passed down. And so it's have compassion. It's not just yours, it's most likely generational. And then you're also feeling, again, collective. So I love, a practice that I love is the tapping, the EFT, just like, it moves it from the body. And just really the affirmations. Like there's so many ways and processes and things that you can do, but I think it starts with actually just looking in the mirror and just looking. And there are people that actually cannot look at themselves in the mirror. I've worked with people that cannot look at themselves in the mirror. And so it's just about like, how do I hold that person?
Yeah.
Like literally just hold them. All they need to be is held. And if I can't hold them because I'm working with them online, again, it's seeing them. Right? So how you do it for yourself is like have somebody hold you close to you. If you don't have that for some reason, like just hold yourself, like just feel that connection, that touch. Often that comes, that level of mind comes from a disconnect of your body and not having that touch, and not having that touch earlier on in your life as well. How important. I know there are some of us that are incredibly privileged to have that. I often come up to people and I just like hug them. Like I have to touch people. Like I have to hug. And like people, you know, I have friends that call me squish because I squish them, you know, like I'm very tactile. I'm a little bit on the spectrum of like autism where I'm very tactile.
I'm the opposite.
You're the opposite.
Where I'm like, you'll see, it's so funny. My friend Mina will laugh because I'll have an Instagram video of Krista and Krista's so touchy. And you'll see Krista like grab my leg and I'm like, and she's like, I saw you just freeze and tense up. I get so, I want it more than anything, but I'm so uncomfortable.
Did you have it growing up?
No.
That's because you don't have the experience of having it growing up. And so what I would do with, you know, if we did an immersion, for example, we would do a moment of just actually allowing yourself to be held. Uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
Right. But then we break through and you actually realize, oh my God.
It's too vulnerable. I can't let someone hold, unless they're my partner and it's romantic love and it's allowed.
Yeah.
It's so
and
interesting.
even then I bet you anything that you wouldn't.
No, I would.
Much.
Only in a romantic setting, because then I feel like that's societally acceptable.
Right.
But to like, I don't know. I feel like it's like that.
It's uncomfortable.
Only that person's responsibility.
I was the same way. Actually, I was the same way. I was like, I fend for myself. I got it. I'm, you know, and, you know, I realized like what actually slowed me down is having people look at me in the face, like in my eyes. This just happened a couple of weeks ago. Look at me in the eyes and you're like, we've got you. We are here for you. We are here for you and we'll show up. Right. We'll show up, because I was coming from a place of constant running and going and not feeling safe in my own skin. I'm telling you, these are layers. I've been working on this for 20 years. But my goal is that as I work on it, I can actually make it shorter for people, because I know where to go now.
I'm glad that you brought up, I mean, you and I have talked about the running recently and even on my episode on your podcast, but I know that that's something that a lot of people, again, in the Western world can relate to today, all above the head. It's that we're constantly doing, constantly running, going, some of us more than others. And I think you and I have that in common. And I've had people, like I said, very close to me in my life just ask me, when are you going to stop all the time? When are you going to stop running? And I notice how much it affects the way that I can show up for other people, because the times that I've taken off work and my time hasn't been in exchange for money, you know what I mean? Like, because when you're going all the time, it's so often to stay safe and to work to stay financially safe. And so it's like, oh, all of a sudden my time's not commodified. I don't have the pressure of work, and my time gets to be used from my heart. So I want to leisurely and almost luxuriously spend this time just stopping at a friend's house for no reason. Because so often those casual interactions that build deeply, you know, nourishing community that will see you and be there for you no matter what, it takes those kinds of casual interactions, which we don't have as much anymore. So much is now transactional, and so much of our time is now exchanged for currency. So it's like, how can we be deeply seen and deeply supported by community when we don't always have the luxury of that time being so casually and freely given?
Yeah. And I think it goes with the fast globalization speed to which we're going, you know, like consume, do
more so you can consume more.
Yeah. And tell me about it. I mean, it's a privilege to have that time. I myself have been in a survival mode. As I shared, my parents died. I didn't really have anything, everything that I have in this moment I've built for myself. I didn't have a foundation. You too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people will look at me and it's like, well, that's so privileged. I'm like, I've been working my butt off. Like, I've been getting myself, and I thank God for the families that have been there for me, but they've been there like as a home, not like giving, you know, it's like, we've been building, going. You too.
Yeah.
Right. So we know what it's like to just like work, go, survive, do. Like, I understand for those listening right now and they're like, I can't take a moment. I have to feed my family. I have to feed my kids. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have my children of my own, but I get what it's like to wake up every day and not know.
And it's all on you.
Where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get it. And how do we build rest as a revolution also? How do we take some moments of space and time for ourselves, especially those new mothers, especially mothers that, again, like don't know where it's coming from and have to fend for themselves? how do we create rest as a sacred pause as well? Like, you know, how important even 30 minutes of your day, because I know that everybody has 20 minutes. I understand, like, you know, there is that moment, but we don't get taught that. I don't know. I think for you as well, like you're going. And even in the moments of sacred pause and rest, like you're still thinking about how you're going to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's a collective conversation on how we can actually let go of the consuming, let go of the, you know, because I think, it has to be a conversation. It has to be like, there has to be a moment in which we talk about how are we going to create spaces for rest for people at the front lines, people that are, you know, activists, people are, I just came from New York a week ago where people are, again, doing what they can for these times.
Yes.
I was amazed at the level of burnout that these people are in, because they're like, you know, they're deciding a lot of these things in the world. Mm-hmm. And there's a level of burnout that they're doing it from, because that's automatic. Like they're just going, doing, and mm-hmm. like working. When does it stop? Yeah. How do we create a space again for like nourishment and community and gathering, and beautifully said, like having dinners with our friends, luxury now, you know?
It like makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
That's a luxury, is to be able to just stop by a friend's house and linger a little bit longer after a family dinner, and not have to like use that time to, you know, whatever, check off to-do list items, and otherwise you'll fall behind and be so stressed and not be able to meet deadlines and feed your family. It's like, I hate that that's a luxury now.
Me too. And it's true. It's a luxury. It's a luxury to gather in family now also. Yeah. So how do we go from that being a luxury to normalizing that and actually having Sundays as a day of rest? Many religions, actually, many cultures there's a day of actual rest. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Turn your phone off, put it away, go out with your family, go for a walk. Again, like, I have hope. And yet, like, as we're talking about this, I see the level to which, like, everything has been turned to 100. And it's like a constant, like it's the phones. We were just talking about TikTok. Consume, and it's so fast. And it actually trains our entire parasympathetic system to go so fast. And you have to create and you have to do. And then
when we're not good at it or not like doing it right, we think something's wrong with us. Yeah. Because we're not keeping up with the way that the algorithm's been turned to it. It's like, well, I'm not doing my job. I'm not performing on TikTok, but it's like you're now being asked to function at a level that's so unnatural to you to be able to do that successfully. That's not a metric of success. Like it's our metrics of success. We've just lost the plot so much on that. Yeah. Because it's also no longer about like just, for many people in this world, it's still about just meeting basic needs. Yes. And then for many people, they're living in a different world. Like I saw this quote the other day that's like, it's either people that don't have a meal or people that are worrying about renovating their kitchens. I was like, oh, wow. Oh, worry about the wrong things.
What if we use that money to renovate the kitchens, to create kitchens for those that don't have kitchens? You know?
Yeah, and like we'd probably just be so much more fulfilled and so much happier, and like then could hang out with our friends while we build the kitchens. Like it's just,
we don't take any of that with us. We don't.
That's the crazy thing.
And yet, you know, we're in this human experience and our fellow humans are not having, like, I am a constant believer, and I do this in my work a lot, where I, like, you know, there's a bridge to those who cannot afford with the bridge who can. And I constantly am I think service is such a beautiful way of being in life. I don't share this. I don't have to post about it. I do it for myself, but I'm doing community service every so often, you know, like as I do hospice work. I'm constantly like, that is my way of giving for so much that I've had. It's like, that's my luxury. It's like being able to give to those that can't. Yeah. And I really believe I was born with that chip, because I've been doing it. I saw it in my parents, and I've done it since I was little. Yeah. You know, it's a beautiful, like, actually it's something that gives so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I always saw it
towards yourself. It's a little bit selfish,
Yeah, and but that's good that we're wired that way. I think that God made us that way for a reason. That it feels good to give. That you get a certain neurotransmitter happiness from that. That's how we further life and evolution and all the things. So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a constant evolution.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. It's like, how do we have these conversations of helping people that can't have rest, have moments of rest,
Yeah. Yeah, we just really need a worldwide revolution is what.
Yes, we do.
So I guess that's the age of Aquarius, huh? Right?
That's it.
Things are about to
We're
really
moving
go
from the
crazy.
individual to the collective, and we're all coming together with our own ideas. It's no longer about what I can do. It's about what we can do together. And it's so exciting to feel that. I think that that's what we're seeing in the world right now. Collectively, and of course it's not easy. Back to the death conversation, it's not easy to die. It's not easy to see so much death in the world right now. I'm not shying away from what's happening. I'm actually very much feeling and seeing it.
Yeah.
I think it's a privilege if you don't see it and feel it. And how do we take that and come together to create a third way?
I do feel that where I see the collective responding, especially like the youngins, bless the youngins. They just won't put up with an individualist, like even influencers are going out of style because it's all consume, me. Like, brands really need to have a mission. Yeah, like there's such a pull away from just like more and more benefit, and what's cool now is helping the collective in some way, and like having a cause or like a greater thought and compassion behind what you do. And that is the age we're moving into. And so yes, there's a lot of old that does need to die, and that's something I wanted to ask you about, because I think one of the first episodes that I opened this season with was a solo episode on death and rebirth and like how to navigate.
Interesting.
And I thought I was in the death then.
It must be a collective thing, because I just did one a couple weeks ago. there's some death and rebirth. And yours too. But it's collective. We're going through a death and rebirth massively.
Yeah, talk to us more about that. What is particular about this year? Why? What are people experiencing, and for what reason?
Yeah. Well, before I go there, I do want to shout out to the youth right now, because I think that, I just spoke at a UN General Assembly event, and one of my messages was, if you're an older person, look at the youth. They need help. Let's create bridges between like our age and the youth, and actually support them in activating their visions, because they're coming in. They are coming in with another chip. And we need to support that in happening. I mean, that's our future. That's our generation. And it's not too late. Everybody's in the doom and gloom. Like, it's late. We lost it. No, tomorrow, today. Look at what's happening. Go, active. Like, I think that we can spend so much time in the, we've lost it. It's done. I'm over. No. It starts today. Like, right now. Let's go. So I want to just do that. And with the death and rebirth, that's a big one. I think that old systems, I don't ever name drop, but I did go to one of the institutions, oldest educational institutions in the planet.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you about your Harvard degree.
We don't say the name. There's a reason why I went there, because I wanted to understand what is it about those institutions, and I do feel like there's something that's shedding in the world right now of the way we used to do things, and how we would prop, leaders. And I think that it is the age of Aquarius. And the age of Aquarius is going to be a long time. It has been a long time. It's going to be a long time. It's not something we're going to see in 1 year. All the ancient traditions, the Mayan tradition, all the ancient traditions have it right now as like death and rebirth, all of them. I haven't fully studied it, so I can't talk about it, but I know that like I'm like half chills, I'm cold, there's some energy here, I feel it. But so we're in this moment of critical self and collective responsibility. And it's about really taking accountability and looking at ourselves as to what we've created and how that's working for us. How that's going. Let's look at that right now. Like in ourselves, in our family systems, in our neighbors, in our community, collectively, in our world.
Yeah, on a micro and macro.
And it's about, yes, we can point the finger, this is who it is, but it's also like how you're actively engaging in it, you know, because I can point the finger at certain people that have created certain companies that, you know, have done it, but I'm also engaged in it. So I got to look at where I am with my dollar paying for that as well, you know? So collectively, you know, we're engaging in social media. That's also part of it.
I'm not.
It's a part of, you know,
I am.
I believe that it starts with ourselves before we go. You know, I used to have a dream to go to Africa and support people there. Maybe that will happen one day, but if I'm not aligned with my values in my system, in my life, how can I go to Africa? If I'm not aligned with my community, with my neighbors, how can I go there? You know, like it has to start at a small and then go outward. I think I don't think it's the way, but I think it's a way that I have looked at it. And you know, it's how do we look at our own engagement in what's happening? And I think there's a lot of old systems really breaking and clearing. And there is one thing I am so very excited about, which is we're really opening our eyes, what people call the awakening. But I barely say that word, but people are opening their eyes. They're really seeing things. And I am so excited for that. I think the one thing that I would say is don't believe everything you see and don't play into the polarity. I think like there's a massive polarity happening. Make space for all stories.
There's a lot of like finger point and like just it divides us so much further.
It's division. And part of why we're on the planet is actually to really realize how connected we are.
Yeah.
You know, people would say we're all one. I don't go ahead and go that far. We are one energy. We are one membrane, conscious membrane. But I think that we are very connected. Mm-hmm. And what one person does can affect a ripple of the whole. So it's really taking social responsibility for how we're walking right now. Wow, I did not expect that to come through, but it came.
I'm putting that whole social clip up on my ends. That'll be my first post back. I was clipping that whole thing, Marty. Yeah, no, I love that you like brought it to the collective and to like the actual things that matter and need to change, because so often in the death and rebirth conversation, I approach it so selfishly of like, well, in my life, all these things are crumbling, and my career and these friendships, like it can just be so individualist of how I often will see the death and rebirth. But I guess in a way, and I know that a lot of my listeners are like, we talk about it in the lens of our lives, right? Our personal lives. But I guess that those shifts are happening in our personal lives to prepare, to like kind of place us in a different place, in a different alignment, to humble us in a way, to, you know, place us to where we can be of greater service as the collective starts to shift. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not going to get easier, actually. It's going to be, I mean, I'm trying not to create it, but it's going to be years of a lot of turmoil. Like I was warned about this 20 years ago. I saw it in a huge vision premonition. And nothing is set, right? Like everything can change at any moment. Mm-hmm. That's like, but I was warned by one of my elders, like we're going into very interesting, powerful times. Native First Nations really have a huge awareness of what's happening right now because of their connection to the planet. I'm thinking about the Kogi and the Arhuaco people in the Sierra Nevadas of Colombia. You know, they are so connected into the earth, and they can see when things are changing, and then they look at the waters and they can feel things because there's no noise around them. Mm-hmm. You know, we have a lot of noise. And so it's really just about, again, tuning in and listening. There's a lot of noise in the world right now. how do you tune into your own water, to your own heart, to your own emotional body, to your ancestral body, help release and clear that which is coming from your ancestors. And again, be of service to the collective shift that is happening. And yes, that's where I was heading. Oh,
that's where I was heading too. I was going to ask you, like, it seems like that's the best thing that we can start to discover for ourselves is, how can I be of service during this time?
Yeah.
And I think that's the pull that a lot of people want ultimately. And I think one way of being service is through your gifts, but even then, like, sometimes it can be still about the individual.
Yeah.
So how can we, you know, start to, like, ask the universe, ask God, like, what we're meant to be used for in like a service lens? How can we start to uncover that?
Yeah, I would go ahead and say also with that, like, I think compassion and the Dalai Lama and the Buddha, you know, it's all about, I think it's really compassion, because I'm seeing and I'm just witnessing the patterns right now collectively of finger pointing. You're not doing this and you're not doing that, and this is what you're not doing, and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, we're all doing it in a different way, you know, and it's not about shaming and naming and judging and doing. And I think also it's really important not to put a whole population under what is happening from leadership in their country. You know, I think it's really important to, again, build the bridges of, yeah, like letting go of judgment of one whole population because of what one leader is doing in a country, and leadership. And I think it's really interesting to see, again, like, well, this is like, it's quite like, I can feel this in my body as I'm saying it. But again, it's like, yeah, I think we're all doing it differently, you know, creatively, artistically, songs, writing, filming. There's people at the, again, front lines, protesting. There's people working with people one-on-one individually. There's people just raising their children. That's like a revolution in itself to the mother. I can feel a lot of mothers are going to listen to this, and that's, you're raising your children. That's a revolution. You know, if you're doing a good job raising a child, that's enough.
Yeah, and especially raising them to just be a compassionate human. It's like you're doing so much better than your ancestors, and you're raising the humans that will go out in the world and help. And
raise more humans. And, you know, if you're clearing your ancestry, that's enough. You know, I think it's also not shaming ourselves for not doing enough. I think we're all in this very intricate, difficult human experience. And I think a lot of us are dealing with very heavy, emotional, energetic situations. And I think there are people that have space to collectively create change. And there are people that have space to family change, and there's space, you know, everybody has different space for different things. And again, I just feel like we're doing our best when, you know, we're doing the best we could with what we had. And I think seeing our parents' generation, they did the best they could with what, and people shamed that and said they didn't do enough and they shifted. And I just also think, like, there's also space for compassion for everybody, you know, and love, and coming from a place of just like, I see and I hear space for everything. I also see where the people that are shaming are coming from. I have space for all of it. Yeah. As hard as that is. And I send love to everyone. Really. I feel like, whoa, we're in it, you know?
Yeah. We've only just entered the times. The roller coaster.
Not long ago, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago. Actually, who knows? 60 years ago. I don't know. But yes.
But I guess Earth's never been normal. I mean,
that's
the medieval ages were like horrid. Like there was like mass destruction at all points of this life is very chaotic. The nature of it is entropy. You had said something earlier that your teacher had said to you, which is that if you didn't use your gift, you would get sick, like you would get ill. What does that mean, and how does that apply? Because I think also this is, as much as it's a scary time, right? Or scary, as much as it's a tumultuous time, I think it's also a time where a lot of people are waking up to their gifts, and it's a really exciting time where we're more in our hearts as more perhaps chaos is without us, there's this drive to go deeper within us, which is a really beautiful kind of side effect of all of this. And I think a lot of people are ready to sort of experience the fullness of what they came here to do or to be. So I would love to talk to you about the ways in which you work with people to uncover their gifts, what that looks like, and all the things.
Yeah, I do feel like this is a beautiful time for people to awaken into their gift. As I said, my philosophy is that we're all very gifted human beings. And I think that if we were all walking in our gift, we would be in a different timeline.
Yeah.
And it's so, I think a lot of people would have something against AI, but I also feel like in some way, another teacher of mine says AI is actually supporting people and stepping into more of their empathetic selves and really into their body, and actually realizing that our body and our hearts are one of the most beautiful tools that we have to connect towards each other and to actually live in our full authenticity. So I could talk a lot about the voyants, the clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, as doorways of being. So a lot of us are very empathic. We feel, we hear, we see, we taste. And what I do is really support people in actually kind of dialing in their entry point of how they see, how they feel, how they hear. For you, again, you're clairaudient, right? You have a lot of audience. You see and you hear, right?
I don't know if I see. I guess just in dreams. But is that the same thing?
You might not have it totally open, but you see. Dreams. Dreams are visions, right? You see things, and so it's how do we actually support people in trusting their instinct a little bit more as to how to really open up to that for themselves.
Yeah.
What
makes someone more open or quote psychic than another person? Like, why were your gifts so strong for you?
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer to that. I feel like perhaps because part of my purpose was to support people in opening theirs. That's what I think it is, but I don't have an answer to why people would. I also feel like I'm quite old. I'm very ancient. Like when I was young, I used to tell my parents like I was going to feel my age when I had gray hair. Like this was when I was 5 years old. And so like I feel like my soul is very old. So I've been through it. I've had lots of I know that I've had a lot of experiences on the planet, and I think maybe like this might be one of, I'm tired. Like my soul's tired.
Same.
Your soul's tired. We're old, like so I think that we have the capacity. Like maybe that's just because we've been through it.
Maybe.
These are just all hypotheses.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
there was one other thing I wanted to ask to close with, because I think it would be very helpful for the listeners, is when you are a very sensitive person, I think a lot of people listening are, and have some of these gifts without knowing it, or maybe they know it, but what are some ways in which you can discern when energy is yours versus not yours? And what are some great ways that you can clear at the end of a day, or when you're feeling heavier, when you feel like you've taken on from the world around you?
Yeah, I think what I help and teach people is learning your body. So really feeling into what your body is, and then we have layers outside of our bodies that are not us. So it's almost like when I feel somebody's knee, right? Like I ask, is it mine? Usually I get a no, but you just got to trust the first thing that comes to mind. I have worked so long in this that at this point I know when it's mine and when it's not. It's almost like when it's mine, it's like a stronger hurt.
So you can ask this about a body sensation, like if I'm getting, because before I was getting like lower back pain out of nowhere.
Right now?
So I can ask before. Okay. Right before the episode. So I can ask, is this mine? Or if I'm even having anxiety out of nowhere, I can ask, is this mine? And I can trust what pops into my mind, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like do it right now. Do you have anything?
No, I'm just really sleepy, but that's mine.
Yeah, but actually, no, let's do something. Are you open to it?
Yeah.
Okay. Like just close your eyes and put both feet on the earth. And then take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. just bring in, like, actually just pull, like, ask permission to pull some energy from the earth up into your body. And then, like, go all the way up to the top of your head and then bring it back down. Keep open, and just open softly your mouth. Let the air out of your mouth. And then just bring the element of water from your head all the way down to the toes and just wash away anything that's not yours. And then lastly, open your heart, expand it out, and just shake your hands. And open, like, just keep breathing. Shake your hands. How are you feeling now? Still tired? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel more mentally energized now.
Yeah. But
wow. Okay, so you would ask is that mine? And then you could also, just like in that practice.
Yeah, just ground yourself, work with the earth, usually go outside, have the sun shine. Like really work with the energy of the sun, almost like the sun is shining and lighting in you, like it's just pouring energy in you. Mm-hmm. And then work with the earth to bring energy up.
And can you give to the earth what's not yours?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to build a relationship with it. So thank it. Also, always gratitude for working with you.
Okay.
And you can just
ask permission.
And ask permission. Yeah.
Give you this energy.
It's like a friend. It's a solid, beautiful friend. That is ready there to support you always. Water is really, it's just work with the elements. So sun, light, water, and then people are like bringing energy from up down, but I always work with energy down up. So it's almost like you're really working with the earth, not with like up. Yeah. Right. Like you can pour energy here, but you can also just bring energy from your feet up. Yeah. It's really powerful. And that shaking, letting go of any of that energy that's not yours. I start the day just shaking, move.
Wow.
And then like right here, right? So like we're feeling here, you're feeling the jaw clenched.
Is there any practice that you do at night before bed? Can you do the shaking too?
The shaking is the shaking is a great, but just make sure, like probably why you got tired is also you're not breathing. So it's really important for you to like really attune to the breath always. So when you're holding your breath, right? That's energy that's versus like letting it move. And shaking. Before bed, I just make sure like I kind of scan my body and see if there's any holes or anything that's not mine and hooks and anything, and just release, really let go, like just like almost like wash my energy at night. Mm-hmm. And
do you ever say anything like I call my energy back to me?
Calling back your energy and also releasing anything that's not mine, that's not ready for that's not. And it's really important to do in bed. It's like again like hygiene. Yeah, just like really looking at your energy.
Yeah, energy hygiene. I love it. Energy you gotta write hygiene. A whole book on it.
Ooh. Well, we did talk about that yesterday. Energy hygiene.
Energy hygiene is major. People don't. Important.
It's like brushing your teeth.
I want to know. I'm so curious people's practices that they personally utilize. Yeah. And if things like calling your energy and power.
See, you're back. Your eyes are back. You have to shake.
I want to like seal this puppy off. I don't want any more.
I'm going to tell you something. A few teachers of mine, because I said the same, I was like feeling everything. No, it's not about sealing it. It's about embracing it and learning how to work with it. Because the more that you seal it or close it or not want to work with it, the bigger it is. The more you're gonna resist it. It's gonna persist. But it's also just saying like no, like right now, give it a no. No, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome in my body. It's a boundary. You're also like learning boundaries with the energy that around you that's not yours. Look at that. Again, your eyes. Mm-hmm. Interesting. No. That's right there, like, no. Mm-hmm. Just like any thought that comes through, it's a no.
That's hard with the thoughts, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for this masterclass and all of the topics that you covered. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Olivia.
For sharing your story and your wisdom and your gifts. It's so appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're the best.
You're the best.
Oh, and tell us where we can find you.
ManuelaWelton.com and Instagram Manuela Welton, and all the info's there.
Okay. I'll put it all in the show notes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.